Hey guys, welcome to Did You Get That on Film? On this podcast, we deep dive into horror movies, and so it is full of explicit content as well as spoilers. Please be advised. Now, let's get to the show.
This is Did You Get That on Film? Where we discuss characters in terrible situations that we would never find ourselves in. I am your host, DP, and with me always is my friend, someone who would never stay for a holiday party with no food, my girl Ruth. What's up?
They had Tostitos.
They didn't have anything at that party.
They had Tostitos. But you're right.
They had nothing. They had nothing at that party.
I don't even think they had dip.
He pulled that bottle out so fast, and he was taking shots so quickly, he didn't even care.
No, he didn't care. It was insane.
Don't you ever tell me we're having a party. There was no party.
It was insane. But with that being said, today we will be talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. This is going to be a part of our little mini tiny Christmas celebration episodes, right? We have a couple.
It's Christmas, bitch.
You just made me think. Heard you look for Candyman, bitch.
That's what I was thinking about.
Heard you looking for Candyman, bitch. What great films. But yes, so we're going to be doing this movie and another Christmas movie. So stay tuned for that. But Silent Night, Deadly Night was released in 1984. It is directed by Charles E. Sellier Jr. And this film, upon its release, was extremely controversial. And it was actually picketed by parents immediately. They were very upset with the depiction of a killer Santa Claus. And the backlash was so strong that the movie was actually pulled from theaters about 10 days after its release. But with that being said, it did gross $2.4 million on a $750,000 budget. So it was considered a big success. I think the executive producer actually said that he believes that it probably would have gone on to make $20 million had it been able to run its full course. So it would actually take about a year for it to come out on VHS, and then it became a cult classic. And so that led to 4 sequels, a loose remake that was released in 2012 called Silent Night that is very popular, but I've seen people talking about it online, interviews, and they said that it's the best film of the series since the original. And there is apparently also a reboot in the works. So that was announced in 2021. So Orwo Studios and Black Hanger Studios acquired the rights to remake it. And that's not a studio that we've spoken about before, but they actually handled the Jeepers Creepers Reborn, which was not popular at all. But who knows? Maybe Silent Night, Deadly Night will be good.
It probably won't. But
I don't know what I thought you were about to say, but not that.
well, it's like these people missed the point. Like, it's not supposed to be like 2023 good. It was a 80s fun good.
Yes.
Like, it's such a original like concept. Just make something new. You know? Don't remake this.
Well, it's starting to gain popularity, I think, especially in the past few years, kind of similar to like a Halloween 3, Exorcist 3 type deal. You know, people are starting to appreciate it more. And so, you know, when that happens, somebody's going to jump on it and remake it. It's just inevitable.
It's just what it is. Yeah, it's just more just whatever. It's gonna be whatever it's gonna be. I'm just thinking once again, another episode we're recording, and it's like, damn. Even back then, still nobody has gotten any more offended than they've been in the past. It's just that we have the internet now, so you know it. Because here they
Mm-hmm.
are, a movie that's a rated R movie that nobody is supposed to be bringing their children to see, and you just like stone hard offend, like don't even want the movie to be out because you took your kids to the movie theater, they saw Santa Claus, and instead of you just saying no, that's not a movie for you. You like want the movie to disappear.
Right. I don't want anybody to see it.
Right, like
And it's not even the first movie to have a killer Santa Claus. So that's why the director and the producer were like, you know, we were mad confused as to why people were reacting this way. I think there was a movie that came out in 1980 that also had a killer Santa Claus. I think Twilight Zone did an episode with a killer Santa Claus. And so it's just weird. And it's funny because Mickey Rooney, the actor, he was actually a very outspoken person that was against this movie, and he was in the one of the sequels. So people were like, "You're a fucking hypocrite."
because let me tell you something. He wanted to check. People don't have no morals.
Clearly,
People just be saying get on anything. He was making some money talking about the movie being bad, and he was getting some money talking about the movie being good. All he cared about is his money.
clearly. I just feel like if you're against something, stand 10 toes down on it, right? Like you did all that, you got this movie pulled,
People are not built like that.
apparently. But yeah, now that let's get off our little soapbox.
Yeah, that's not. Let's talk about this movie because it's kind of fun.
It is fun. It is a fun movie. So let's get into it. So when the movie opens, it actually has this really great title card that I loved. It opens with a voiceover of a small child singing a Christmas song, and then we get this slowly zooming in shot of a wreath, and it has the words Silent Night written above it in some white text. And then we get this loud crescendo of music and a huge splatter of blood, and the drippings then make the words Deadly Night. It's written in blood. I thought that was super cool. I liked that a lot. So then after the opening credits roll, we cut to a family driving. There's mom, dad, a baby who we will learn is Ricky Chapman, and then a boy, a little 5-year-old who we'll learn is Billy Chapman. And we get some on-screen text letting us know that it is Christmas Eve 1971. Billy is in the back and he's reading a book on Santa Claus, and he's really eager for Santa Claus to come that night, and he's excited as any kid would be. So we learn that the family is driving to visit Billy's grandpa, who is in a Utah mental facility. When they get there, the grandpa is just kind of overall non-responsive. He's awake, but he's in this catatonic state. They're talking to him. He is not responding at all. And Billy asks why the grandfather isn't saying anything. And his mom tells him that grandpa can't hear them. He doesn't even know they're there. And Billy is asking all the right questions because he's like, dude, what the fuck did we come for? Because yes, why did you come? Because they're there for like 10 minutes.
Did you realize that too?
Yes, they just came to like traumatize this kid.
And 10 movie minutes because it was like enough for the grandpa to surprise us with words, and then it was over.
And it was over. Apparently it's a drive too.
It's long.
It's just for you to come here for 10 minutes to talk at this man who's not responding, go look at some medical notes that you could have reviewed over the phone, and to traumatize your kid. So they're talking to him. The kid's like, I don't know why we're here. The doctor's like, well, I have some notes on his condition in my office. Let's go talk about them. And for some reason, they leave 5-year-old Billy alone in a mental institution recreation room. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? What kind of parents? Why wouldn't you just take him with you? He's 5. Anything could happen. He could get some scissors and cut himself. But Billy is obviously scared, and the mom, she tells him not to worry. His grandpa won't hurt him. Well, literally, as soon as they leave the room, the grandpa looks at Billy.
He couldn't wait.
He couldn't wait. He was like, yes, leave him. He looks over at Billy, and then he just starts going off. He's gripping Billy's arm, and he's telling him that his mother can't help him, and he should be scared. And he's like, you know what happens on Christmas? It's the scariest night of the year. And he's like, Santa brings presents to the nice kids, but the naughty ones he punishes severely. And he asks Billy, have you been good all year? And Billy's like, damn, no, I haven't been good all year. And Grandpa's like, well, you're fucked. Right? He said, if you see Santa tonight, you better run for your life. And he's getting a good, deep laugh at this child's expense, right? But then immediately, as soon as he hears the door open, he's boom, back in that catatonic state, like nothing ever happened. Like you don't even see the laugh line.
But why?
I don't know.
That was crazy, huh?
Like, did he just hate his family that much? I don't know.
What the little boy did, though.
That was really crazy. He's 5. Y'all had no conversation, and then you tell him that Santa's gonna kill him? That's really poor judgment on this man's part.
Did he just decide on his 5th Christmas, I'm gonna
fuck his world up?
Yeah, like I was like, dang.
He didn't deserve that. But Billy is sufficiently traumatized. On the drive home, he tells his mom about what Grandpa said and how scared he is, and he doesn't want Santa to come anymore. He's very upset. And his mom replies that Grandpa is just a silly old fool.
Which was strange to me because I said he couldn't talk.
So that's the thing. I was like, well, good on these parents because they have an exchange where they're like, could Grandpa have really said that? Like, do you think he talked to him? And the mom's like, well, he wouldn't lie about that. And I was like, that's so rare in horror movies that people believe kids. Usually they'd be like, that didn't happen. But they do believe him. Billy is appalled that his mother would speak this way, and he tells her that Santa will punish her for talking bad about old people. I feel like this would have been a good time to maybe talk to him a little bit more and explain that Grandpa's very sick and that he says things that aren't true, but they don't. There's just no time for any real parenting because we cut to a scene at a liquor store, and there's a man who's dressed as Santa Claus, and he viciously murders the store clerk in cold blood for the $31 in the register and the like 3 packs of cigarettes that he put on the counter beforehand.
Why is this always a thing in the movies? Like they're like, we're gonna rob a convenience store.
I don't know. I can't. $31 and 3 packs of cigarettes? He didn't even take the time to steal more cigarettes. At least then you wouldn't have to waste your $31 next week on cigarettes.
I'll get some snacks.
No snacks, no beer. It's a liquor store. You didn't even take any liquor. Ridiculous. And apparently, I guess he's just looking to rob more people.
Yeah.
So he stopped in the middle of the road, and Billy's family sees him, and they stop to help him, even though Billy is begging them not to. but he's dressed as a Santa Claus. So I guess they're like, well, what's the worst that could happen?
Foolish.
It is foolish. So then the Santa pulls a gun and he attempts to carjack the family. And as the dad attempts to speed off, he's shot and killed by the Santa. Billy then jumps out of the car and runs and hides in the woods. And he watches while the Santa Claus sexually assaults his mother, ripping her shirt open, exposing her bare breast, which is I mean, that happens every 5 minutes in this movie. It is a boob heavy movie. So just be ready for that. But he then slits her throat, leaving her dead in the street, breast totally exposed. His baby brother Ricky is in his car seat just screaming while Christmas music is blasting on the radio. Billy witnesses all of this, and it's obviously very, very traumatic. That coupled with what Grandpa said, he's like, I knew this was coming.
It's so much. First of all, hitchhikers, come on.
I know.
Never. Christmas or not, I don't care who it is.
Especially not with your children in the car.
Don't even ask for a ride. I don't believe in people asking for hitchhiking.
Right. I could never even imagine hitchhiking. I just feel like you are really just, setting yourself up for trouble.
Throw yourself in the river.
You might as well. Because if not, they're going to throw you in the river. Right.
So it's that, and then it's just like, I think the movie does a good job with this, but like, this was a real fucked up scene.
This was such a fucked up scene. This was really brutal.
I did not expect this.
I don't even think he ended up taking the car.
No.
So
And that's
what?
when you were saying earlier, like, was he just trying to rob people? I think he just wanted to kill those people.
Right. He clearly just wanted to kill them because he doesn't even take the car. Like, I don't know what he didn't take any money out of the dad's wallet. Like, very intense.
Yeah.
So then we jump ahead in time to December 1974, and Billy and Ricky have been taken to St. Mary's Home for Orphaned Children. So, and now 8-year-old Billy is in class, and all the kids are drawing pictures to hang on the blackboard. But he draws a picture of Santa Claus being murdered by a bunch of swords and his reindeer's head being cut off with an axe. He, of course, gets in trouble for this. He is then sent to Mother Superior, who is the head mistress of this orphanage. And she's also a real bitch. And I don't know if that's like sacrilegious for me to say because she is a nun, but she's a real asshole. Straight up.
Mother Superior is not an asshole. Mother Superior has character growth.
She doesn't have any character growth.
First of all, okay, so you the same way you felt about Mother Superior when you first started watching the movie, at the end of the movie, you still was like, yeah, I don't rock with her.
Dante, yes, you're supposed to feel that way. That's setting up the sequel. She does nothing redeemable in the whole movie.
In the first one?
Yes. What movie did you watch? She does absolutely nothing redeemable.
I like Mother Superior.
She didn't do anything redeemable, and that's not me being subjective. It sets up the sequel. She is still an asshole. She's considered an asshole. She gets her comeuppance in the sequel, and that's the only way I took comfort with the end of the movie, and that she didn't die in this movie. Which, spoiler, guys, you'll want her to, but she doesn't die in this movie, unfortunately. So she punishes Billy. And she sends him to his room and she tells him that he can't leave until she tells him to. So there's another nun there. Her name is Sister Margaret, who clearly is the only person with sense in the whole movie. But she recognizes that the drawing is a manifestation of the untreated trauma that Billy has suffered after watching his parents brutally murdered and sexually assaulted in the street. I mean, that's so fucking obvious, even in the 80s. She tries to get Mother Superior to recognize this and to get the boy the help that he desperately needs. But because she knows that Billy is only getting progressively worse with every Christmas that passes, Mother Superior is like, bitch. So for some reason, she doesn't think that Billy knows what happened to his parents. I don't know why. I assume that Billy never talked to anybody about it. That because he ran, they think that he didn't watch the whole thing happen.
Right.
But he did, and he was 5. He remembers it. I don't. So she tells Sister Margaret, she's like, not only do I not care about what you're saying right now, she's like, I've never cared about a damn thing you've ever thought, ever, and I never will. Mother Superior believes that the only way to deal with children is to punish them. She thinks that punishment is good. Anything can be solved with punishing. So Sister Margaret goes and she tries to help lift Billy's spirits by inviting him to come help the kids build a snowman. And she is an authority figure. And she's telling him to come out of his room. So he didn't do anything wrong. But as he's walking out, Billy starts to hear the sound of 2 people having sex. And he goes to look through a keyhole. And as he's watching, he's seeing the girl's bare boobs, and this gives him flashbacks to his mother's murder and how she was left with her breasts exposed in the middle of the street afterwards. And so he's kind of going through it, but he doesn't really have time to dwell on that thought because Mother Superior comes up behind him, pushes him out of the way, and then goes in the room and beats the shit out of these 2 teenagers with a belt, calling them devils because they're having sex, which was really wild because if you're going to do that in an orphanage that's run by nuns, you could at least be quiet. They're being loud as fuck. He heard them down 2 hallways. Billy then goes outside with Sister Margaret and the other kids, and Mother Superior, she uses this as an opportunity to tell Billy that what those 2 were doing is naughty and that they didn't think that they would get caught, but you will always get caught when you are naughty and you will always be punished, and that punishment is good. And she then punishes him for leaving his room, which is bullshit. It's so insane because Sister Margaret's like, I told him to. So she's just a fucking asshole.
She told you that she didn't care what you think, Sister Margaret.
But this child looks up to her as an authority figure.
What did Mother Superior tell you about having other authority figures?
Nothing. So she then punishes him. She in his room, she has him bend over a chair and she spanks him repeatedly on the butt with this leather belt. And then she sends him to bed and tells him to stay there. Later that night, Billy has a nightmare, a night terror about his parents' murders, and he jumps out of the bed and he runs from his room, clearly terrified. But he runs into Mother Superior, who responds to this by tying Billy to his bed. And he is begging her, he's begging Sister Margaret to not tie him to the bed, to not do this to him, but he is just left that way until the next morning. So the next morning, Sister Margaret gets Billy out of his room and he's in better spirits and he joins the rest of the children. So this is Christmas Day and he's opening Christmas presents with everybody. Mother Superior is convinced that her methods are working and that Billy is getting better. So Sister Margaret is like, well, you dumb bitch. He always gets better once Christmas is over. We already know that.
She did say that.
But Mother Superior is like, no, I'll show you. Today, I've invited Santa Claus to come visit the orphanage. And she's like, Billy is going to sit on Santa's lap and he's going to be very well behaved. And I can't really tell if she is a fucking idiot or if she's just that full of herself. Because like Sister Margaret clearly is like, this is a horrible idea. His parents were murdered by a Santa Claus, but you just want him to be such a robot, to just listen to everything that you say without questioning, without feeling, without thinking, that you bring him to a Santa Claus. I hated her so fucking much. But she sits him on Santa's lap and she's telling him that he is going to learn gratitude. And she tells him to tell Santa thank you. It's all very, very weird. It's super weird too because it's a nun-run orphanage. I can't even believe that they have this Santa here and that she's telling him to give Santa thanks. I just thought this was all very weird,
Well,
but
it sets up the 2-piece in the biscuit.
it does. So Billy tries to run away, but this Santa grabs his arm, which, like, bro, read the room. This kid, it clearly doesn't want you to touch him. Billy just straight up cold cocks this man. I mean, he put his heart and soul into this punch. The Santa, like, flies out of his seat. This kid's 8. Talk about a 2-piece of a biscuit. He slaps the taste out of the Santa's mouth. Knocks him out. No remorse either. And he just runs away. Santa is dazed on the floor, bleeding from his nose. He's like, hey, what the fuck is wrong with that kid?
Thinking about all his life decisions.
I know, he's probably like,
one.
I'll never do this shit again.
This is my last year.
Fuck these kids.
They can have this uniform.
So Billy runs to his room and he is having a meltdown and he balls up in the corner and he's crying. It's all very sad. He definitely needs help. He needs a loving hand, someone to talk to. He needs a therapist. And he's just saying that he didn't mean to be naughty and he's, like, please don't punish me. But then we hear an angry Mother Superior walk up and we get a freeze frame shot of Billy's terrified face. And we hear her say his name. So we know she probably beat the shit out of him. So next we cut to spring 1984, and this is 10 years later. Billy is now 18, done with the orphanage, and, like, fucking jacked, right?
Right.
He's a big kid. He is so strong and tall that Sister Margaret is able to get him a job at a toy store that's owned by a man named Mr. Sims, and he'll be working in the stock room hauling heavy crates and just doing anything fucking heavy. We then get a little montage of Billy working, and he is, for all intents and purposes, a absolute model citizen and employee. Just, like, really good guy. He's lifting these crates. He's lifting children to get toys off of hard to reach shelves, and he's turning down liquor and only drinking milk. It's all very touching. And things are going great, but then Christmas time comes around again, and the store owner, Mr. Sims, reveals a holiday banner that he had made for the store, and right smack in the middle is a huge picture of Santa Claus. And Billy is obviously bothered by this. So, because Christmas is approaching, apparently this is really affecting Billy's job performance. And we learn this through his coworker, Andy, who is also a piece of shit.
He's the worst person in the movie.
He's the worst person in the movie.
Because he's short.
No, he is short. He is a short man.
So immediately, no respect. I was immediately like, no respect for you.
He's a short man. He's just kind of like an asshole, tattletale-y. He doesn't do any work. I never see him do anything.
He literally does nothing.
He puts his feet on the desk. It's just, he's a lot. We don't like him. So he's saying that Billy has had a bad attitude. He hasn't been performing his job duties. And after an argument between the two, Billy walks out and he runs into the store's Santa Claus, who's set up shop. And he has flashbacks of the Santa that killed his parents. And so he starts having like a panic attack, knocks over some toys, and his coworker Pamela, who Billy has a crush on, stops by to help him. She asks Billy if he's all right, and Billy tells her that he's fine. He's clearly not fine.
Far from it.
But poor thing. But later that night, Billy ends up having a steamy dream about Pamela.
It was sexual in nature.
It was quite sexual. So they're naked, canoodling. But in the dream, as they're canoodling, Santa Claus comes up behind them. And Pamela starts screaming, and Billy is stabbed in his side with a switchblade, and the Santa Claus like drags it all the way down his side, cutting him. Billy wakes up freaking out, again having flashbacks of his time at the orphanage, being punished for being naughty. So now he's associating sexy dream with being naughty, and being naughty with being punished. And by being punished, it's being murdered by Santa Claus. So there's some really deep-rooted trauma here that he has never addressed. So we cut to the next day, and we learn that it's Christmas Eve, and the store manager, Mrs. Randall, informs Mr. Sims that the store's Santa Claus has fallen while he was ice skating and broke his ankle. And so he's going to be out of commission for this Christmas Eve. So Mr. Sims has the bright idea to ask Billy to be Santa. And I kept thinking, I don't know. I know that Sister Margaret just really wanted to get him a job. And, you know, she didn't want to make any negative comments or whatever. But I would think that, have you never visited this toy store before? Like, do you not know what they do for Christmas? I'm just confused as to why you didn't warn anybody not to push the Christmas thing on him.
Which she clearly knew, because when they bring it up to her later, she's like, oh, Lord, ooh, that's
shit.
bad.
She's like, that's really bad.
Why did that?
So Mr. Sims decides to put Billy in the Santa suit. And as they're admiring him in the mirror, telling Billy that he needs to be jolly and happy and not scare the kids, we immediately cut to Billy as on his first outing as Santa, and he's very much scaring the children.
He's scaring me.
It was a little intense. He's coming on strong. So there's a little girl that's sitting on his lap, and she's kind of misbehaving. And the parents are looking on, and nobody's alarmed by any of this, but he's telling the little girl that if she doesn't stop, he's going to punish her severely. These are the words that he used. The little girl is
scared.
I'm terrified. And so she starts behaving, and everybody's like, oh, he's so great with kids. He's losing it very slowly, but surely at this point.
And sweating profusely.
He's really going through it. Sister Margaret calls the store to check on Billy. Asshole Andy answers. And he informs her that Billy isn't working in the stockroom right now, and instead he's playing Santa Claus for children. And she's like, dear God, shit is about to get real. I probably should have said something.
Something, parents murdered, trauma. Huh.
Yeah. Well, gotta get back to the orphanage. But alas, so we cut to that night. The store is closing, and it's the end of the Christmas season at the store. So they're celebrating with this pitiful office party, but really just an excuse for Mr. Sims to just drink hard liquor.
Nothing.
They didn't have a cake, cupcakes.
Oh, my God.
They didn't even have soda. They only had liquor.
No sandwiches, no meatballs, no little sugar cookies.
No, like, crudité.
Not even a bag of candy. They had shit.
So they had Tostitos and, like, whiskey.
Tostitos and tequila. Sound like a
It sounds like college.
right?
It's literally like, the minute the store closes, they lock the door, and then Mr. Sims dashes to this bottle of alcohol, and he's like, let's get fucked up. It happens so quickly that Billy doesn't even have time to like take off this Santa suit. So now he's still progressively being traumatized in the Santa suit. And on top of that, Mr. Sims gets Billy to drink alcohol, and this is like his first time drinking alcohol. It's also only like, what, 6 of them?
We would have never stayed for that party.
No, I would have been like, unlock that shit right now. I'm going home. So Billy is drinking, but he's doing about as well as can be expected under the circumstances. But that is until he sees his crush, Pamela, and asshole Annie making out, and now he's depressed.
Why she did that?
I don't really know. Because he's like an asshole.
Scandalous.
So Billy is depressed and he's thinking about his parents, and this very, very drunk Mr. Sims is not helping at all. Because he's like, oh, I'm thinking about my parents. And Mr. Sims like, that's great. And Billy's like, they're dead. And he's like, oh, yeah.
You're an orphan.
Right. So, and he has this line where he tells Billy he better sober up because he has a long night ahead of him because Billy's wearing the Santa costume. And he asks Billy if he remembers what Santa does on Christmas Eve, and Billy's like, "You bet your fucking ass I do." And it's just all piling on. It's all the wrong things at the very worst time for him to be saying them. So he sees Pamela and Andy sneaking off into the stockroom, and he's pissed. In the stockroom, Andy tells Pamela that he got her a present, and he will give it to her in the back of the stockroom. He can't give it to her in front of everybody. God, he's such a piece of shit.
Fuck, I can't stand it.
He talks like a fuckboy, for sure. And they're at work. What the hell is your problem?
Like somebody could walk in.
Well, they do. Right? So Andy then attempts to rape Pamela, and he's ripping her shirt open, exposing her breasts, which that is par for the course for this movie.
Trigger.
Right. She tries fighting him, but she can't. And Billy at this point has followed them into the stockroom, and he sees this all happening. And it's very traumatic because it reminds him of the Santa Claus that was trying to sexually assault his mother. He starts thinking about the night of his parents' murder. It all just plays back in his head. And this is when Billy finally just snaps. So, it starts to get good. This is setting up Billy's first and second on-screen kills. So Billy rushes over and he pulls Andy off of Pamela. And at first you're like, oh, fuck yeah.
He's a gentleman.
A hero. He wraps a string of Christmas lights around Andy's neck and he violently strangles Andy with the Christmas lights. And it's so funny because it's like even the movie is kind of acknowledging that Andy is short because Billy picks Andy up off the ground and his feet are at Billy's like waist level. He's like he picked up a child.
He did.
I think he's average height.
Oh, hit like this. God, I don't want to hear this. Ah.
Well, Andy's dead, so it's fine. We don't ever have to see him again. We don't have to see this little king, this short king, ever again.
God.
So the Christmas, as he's like strangling with the Christmas lights are cutting into Andy's neck, and so there's a fair amount of blood at this point. So that's it for Andy. After he's dead, Billy drops him onto the floor, and then he turns his attention to Pamela. And I was kind of wondering if he was gonna kill her or if he decided to kill her after she calls him crazy because she's obviously terrified, and she hits him, and Billy knocks her back, and then he grabs a box cutter while repeating Mother Superior's old adage about punishment being necessary and good, and he stabs Pamela in the stomach and then drags the box cutter from her like navel to her sternum. I was like, I wonder if he was gonna do that, or if he really was just gonna kill Andy, and then she kind of,
She got made mad because she was like, "You're a monster."
right.
She was, but he should have known. Like, seeing people be murdered traumatizes you.
Duh. So,
He should have some empathy.
well, she
Oh,
didn't.
not empathy having this.
Well, she's dead too, so. So all of this is creating quite a bit of commotion, and it causes a very drunk Mr. Sims to go to the stock room, to investigate. As he's stumbling around, giggling and shit, he turns and he sees Billy with a claw hammer. I know that sobered him up quick as fuck.
Immediately.
Yeah. This is Billy's third, and it's a partial on-screen kill. He brings the claw hammer down on Mr. Sims' head, and we see this giant spray of blood along the boxes around him. A drunk Mrs. Randall, who's waiting for Mr. Sims in the front of the store, she's looking for Mr. Sims, and then the lights end up getting turned off. And she's not alarmed by that. She's just still kind of drunk, thinking everything is funny. She's giggling, and she goes to the back to the storeroom to go find Mr. Sims, and she ends up finding his dead body laid out across some boxes with the claw hammer still stuck in the top of his head. She screams and she tries to run out of the store, but remember, Mr. Sims locked it. I mean, the second the store closes, I think he has the keys on his person, or he did. And so she tries to run to the phone to call for help, but Billy, who has taken an axe off the wall, comes and tries to attack her. She runs to hide, and while he's looking for her, he starts reciting the Christmas poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," which is very creepy, but also a tad silly.
Well, I think that was just a good way to add some Christmas cheer.
Right.
Because she was a mouse. She was a mouse that he was hunting.
Right.
Not even. And then he finds her ass with that ugly ass hat.
I know.
Because it ain't a scary movie if they don't have a silly
Fucked
hat.
up hat! Yes, this is the fucked up hat of the movie. So she's wearing a fucked up hat. It looks like a fruit cake with some flowers stuck in it. She's wearing.
And she thought she was doing something.
She did.
Oh, she thought she had it.
She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give Mr. Sims with this one."
Did you catch that? She was kind of flirting with him, or he was flirting with her. You caught it?
She was kind of flirting with her, but they were drunk. And I was like, where are y'all's significant others? Y'all are getting this wasted at a Christmas party with 6 people, and it's just like y'all talking to each other. This shit is very weird. Wait, I'm sorry. It's only 5 people, right? Pamela, Andy, Sims, Randall, and Billy, who's the odd one out anyway.
So 5 people, 4 bottles, 3
3
and
total
what, 3
Tostitos chips.
all together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Christmas party.
Yeah, portrait in the pear tree too.
Right. But he thinks he's found her, but she ends up tricking him because she puts her hat on top of this box, and when he goes to attack that, she knocks him over, and she takes his axe, which is great. These smart moves.
I really like that.
I liked that too. I thought that was such like a final girl move.
But we got 45 minutes left of this movie, so.
I know, so she's clearly not. But she tries to. She should have gotten away though. But she tries to use X to smash her way through the store window, but she hesitates, and she gets distracted by Billy. And as she's going to break through it, Billy shoots her through the back, comes out of the chest with this bow and arrow that he found. And that's making her his fourth on-screen kill.
This is a toy store with a lot of dangerous items.
I was like, why is there a full legitimate
Archer
axe?
set.
Or that too. A straight up fucking bow and arrow that's so easily accessible to children. I just didn't really understand quite the layout of it. Like, is it a hunting store? Is it a children's store?
Well, they'll say like in the 80s, before everybody turned out being so soft, we used to actually play with real toys. Nah.
Right. So this is my thing. These are not toys.
Right.
It's a legitimate bow and arrow.
That's dangerous.
Very dangerous. So he kills her, and then he picks up his axe, unlocks the door, and leaves the store.
Things are about to get even more freaky.
Right. So after he is gone, we see Sister Margaret showing up at the store, clearly worried about Billy's mental state. And as soon as she walks in, she sees Mrs. Randall on the floor, dead. So she screams. It cuts away from her. Now we cut to a house where these two teenagers, Denise and Tommy, are making out on a pool table in Denise's basement. Denise is babysitting her little sister Cindy, who Denise urges to go to sleep so that Santa can come, and so Denise and Tommy can have sex. And as Denise and Tommy are getting pretty hot and heavy, Denise excuses herself to go let their cat in, and Denise knows the cat's outside the door because she can hear these bells jingling. She thinks it's the jingle from the cat's collar. So this is all setting up Billy's fifth and sixth on-screen kill. For some fucking strange fucking reason, Denise puts on her shorts to go to the front door, but no shirt. And I was like, I fucking hate men directors. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any fucking
Show me them
sense.
titties!
So of course her boobs are exposed. Just ridiculous. It almost took me out of the movie because I was like, all right, now this is just fucking gratuitous. So she opens the door and the cat ends up running in, but Billy is also there waiting. So that was scary. I was like, that was actually pretty terrifying, just on some real shit. Because the cat comes in and she thinks he's okay, like she's about to go and close the door, and Billy just fucking pops in the doorway with this axe. And we kind of see that Billy's Santa Claus costume also has a lot of bells on it. It jingles when he moves around. So that kind of comes up a few times, like this with the cat collar. It's like Billy's there, and that is like what the jingling is. So Denise is able to close the door on him. But remember, Billy's super tall and super jacked. So he is able to, just smash this door to smithereens. It folds like paper. But he then chases a topless Denise through the house. He ends up throwing an axe at her from across the room, but it misses, but it ends up getting embedded in the living room wall. So then when he catches her, he picks her up after a little scuffle, and he very slowly impales her topless body on some deer antlers that are mounted on the wall. And the whole time he's doing this, he's just repeating the word punish.
But I think about it, this is on my mind. This character was you remember Final Girl support group?
Mm-hmm.
The book?
Yes.
She was the main character. The main character was based on this character, right?
Right, with the antlers and stuff. Thank you so much, because I was like, I scoured the internet because I was like, where the fuck I've heard this story like
Before.
before, like in a different way. I was like, I know, like not with this movie, because I was like, wait, what story did I read? And she survives this.
Yeah.
Dante, thank you so much. Woo, yes. So y'all, I know that we talked about books in previous episodes, but this is a book that we both read. It's called The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. He might be like one of my favorite authors. He wrote this book, and in it's such a cool premise. It's a group of women, and they're all final girls, and they're real. He's writing this as if they are real women that these things happen to, and now they're in this support group together, kind of working through the trauma of it. They're all from different movies. It's, kind of up to you to figure out from the clues, that like the context clues, what movies they're from. But one of the girls, the main protagonist, is from this movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night. So imagine if all of these things had happened, but Denise survived and then goes on to live her life. That's what the book is about. It's such a good book. I recommend it.
It's an easy read. I think I read it. Well, I don't know if that's fair because we read a lot of books in a day, but it's like a day read.
I think so. Yeah,
It's quick.
it is quick, and it's not a hard read. It's not a overly complicated book. It's a really fun book because
Yeah.
it's fun. Like reading it and being like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be like Nancy, or like this is supposed to be
Sydney,
Sydney,
and this
right?
one's supposed to be
I like
Laurie.
that a lot. I just thought that was so neat.
I thought so too, because I saw it and you had read it, and I was like, oh, can I read this? And I read it, and I really couldn't put it down. I was like, yeah, I'll finish this real quick.
Yeah,
It's pretty
it's
cool.
a quick read. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you, because I could not fucking. I was like, wait, was this based on a true story or something? Like, where did I read that she survives? I was like, like it was a Mandela effect moment, because I was like, damn, wait, I thought she survived. No, in this movie, Denise is very dead. So sorry, Denise.
Oh my god, that had to hurt too.
Because it's slow too. He doesn't
Yeah.
do it quickly. It impales her right kind of by her sternum, like through the chest area, and it's very slow. So Tommy can't hear any of this commotion because he's still in the basement area and he has music playing really loud. But when Denise doesn't come back, he heads upstairs to find her. So as soon as he reaches the top of the stairs, the front door is literally right there. Like it's like you could just walk straight out the front door. Remember, it's smashed to smithereens. I don't know why he continues through
To
the
call out for
house.
Denise.
He's super loud. He doesn't arm himself. He doesn't leave to like call for help, you know what I mean? Like run to a neighbor's. I just can't, like, those are the smartest things he could have done. It's like be quiet, move with a purpose, like search, arm yourself. He does none of that. So I was like, oh well, Tommy, you had it coming.
I was at that door. I would have been hiding.
And I would have gone straight through that door and I would have called for help. I would have been like, something's wrong. He even says something like, if this is some kind of joke, I'm going to kill her. I was like, you fucking idiot. What an idiot. Jeez. You deserved what you had coming. So he sees the door and he's like, oh shit. But he doesn't run to get help or anything. He just keeps walking through the house, yelling out Denise's name. And it's then that he discovers
Denise.
I know. He's so loud. Like, Billy maybe didn't know that you were there, because he doesn't know the little girl is there. It's just annoying. But it's then that he discovers Denise's body mounted on the wall on these antlers, and he's screaming, taking in the scene, and Billy comes up behind him and grabs him. They then have a scuffle, and Tommy grabs a fireplace poker, and he is able to hit Billy, and he does knock him down. But then he just walks away. He turns his back and he walks away.
Dummy. You a dummy, bitch. Can't learn shit.
Why did he do that? He turns his back on him too. Like, he just casually walks over to the phone to call the police. And he's also standing right next to the axe that's embedded in the wall that Billy threw at Denise. But he just doesn't do anything smart.
So he did something with that fire poker.
What could you have possibly done? You hit him one time. Sir, use your noggin.
Put your thinking cap on.
Put your fucking thinking cap on. Billy, of course, gets up. I mean, it's literally less than 10 seconds. Billy gets up, he knocks Tommy down, he rips the phone cord out of the wall, and he starts strangling Tommy with it. But Tommy is able to kick Billy in the testicles. And at this point, Billy has had enough.
Enough.
And he throws Tommy through the window. It's like a second-story window. And it causes him to... He's impaled in a couple of places with these huge shards of glass. And he also hits the ground. And I don't know which one of those things killed him, but he's dead. He falls to his death. So as Billy is grabbing his axe and he's heading out, the little girl, Cindy, comes out of her room and she's very excited to see Santa Claus. And she's very cute and very innocent looking. She asks Santa if he brought her any presents. And a very, very creepy Billy asks her if she's been naughty. And she's like, no. And he asks her if she's absolutely sure she's been good all year. And the little girl's like, yes. Damn it. I said I wasn't naughty.
Right.
This whole time he's talking to her, we see Billy slowly taking a box cutter out of his pocket. And I believe the director wanted you to feel like, is he going to kill this kid? I don't know. He doesn't kill her. The whole time that he's pulling up the bloody box cutter, he ends up just presenting it to the little girl like a present. And he just like smiles at her very creepily and then leaves. And the little girl is like, I wanted a pony. What the fuck? She's like, this is mad weird. I didn't want a box cutter. It's also still bloody from when he killed Pamela. Very creepy.
I'm not a big fan of Like was like, oh, they're gonna kill this kid. Like, I hope not.
They do that sometimes in movies. They kind of did that, remember, in Halloween 2018 with that baby, and that you see Michael walking towards the baby and then he's like abruptly turns and leaves and they're like, is he going to kill the kid? Like, they do that a lot. But that does happen. But the little girl's left extremely confused, but Billy walks out and we can hear her in the background calling out and looking for her sister. It's very sad.
But she just traumatized her the same way he got traumatized.
Exactly.
Trauma.
Exactly. This movie has a lot of that.
Cycle.
The cycles of trauma. So remember, Billy is out of the orphanage, but remember his little brother, Ricky, who is about 5 years younger than him, he is still in the orphanage. So that is something to remember. He does still have his little brother. So after Billy leaves this house, we cut to a scene of these very, very like imbecilic cops. These fucking, every cop in this movie is a fucking joke. Idiot. They're out patrolling for Billy in his Santa suit at this point because Sister Margaret obviously alerted the police to what Billy is going on. She found the bodies at the toy store. And we get a scene where they're driving around just kind of searching for Billy, and they see a man who's dressed as Santa climbing through someone's window. And so they rush into the house without knocking, guns drawn, just rushing into this little girl's bedroom. And it turns out to just be the little girl's dad dressed as Santa to surprise his daughter. And both the homeowners are very pissed. They're like, what the fuck? Way to ruin Christmas, you pieces of shit.
Trauma. Generational trauma.
Trauma.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. That's exactly how this movie.
That's how this movie is playing out.
It's just like everybody. It's just, I guess it's just a way you inflict, like, you can even do like more of a deep dive. And you wouldn't think that in like this kind of like Ricky Dink 80s horror movie, but like it's definitely one that you can really write about generational trauma.
Hell yeah.
God damn.
Especially like the like unaddressed trauma and what that can do.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Hurt people.
Literally. But we cut to the real Billy, and he is walking down a dark road, hiding from the police as they drive by. And we then cut to some teenagers, Doug and Jim, who are trying to do some late night sledding. And one of the kids, Doug, he actually can hear these bells, the jingling bells. And so he's like, somebody is out there. I feel like somebody is watching us. But before they have time to really get into that, these two adult men that the movie wants us to believe are teenagers, Bob and Mac, these two senior citizens, pop out from behind a tree, and they decide that they're going to just steal Doug and Jim's sled and do their own late night sledding, which they do. So Doug and Jim fuck off, which is probably for the best. But it's as they're getting on the sleds, it's like the whole time we can hear this faint jingling from Billy's Santa suit. So this is all setting up Billy's 7th on-screen kill. So Mac goes down the sled first, and he gets to the bottom, and Bob jumps on his sled to ride down the hill. And as he's sailing down, Billy jumps out from behind a tree with his axe and just like lobs off Bob's head. And we don't see the actual decapitation happen. I feel like what we see is worse.
Yeah.
Because as Mac is at the bottom, watching, like looking upward, waiting for Bob to sled down this hill, Bob's body makes it down to the bottom of the hill, headless. Just a fucking cavernous, bloody hole where his head used to be. And then Bob's head rolls down the hill like 20 seconds later.
He said trauma one more time. But that had to be traumatic.
That had to be very traumatic for Mac, yes. I can't even imagine.
To see a headless body? Oh my God.
To come down a hill on a sled and then the head roll down afterwards. But then wait, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but I put in my notes that Mac, like the director must have given Mac the same directions that he gave to that girl in the beginning of Sleepaway Camp, because Mac just starts screaming.
This is your
you
one
shot. He is screaming. I mean, giving it his all. And I was like, yeah, I would be traumatized, but the way Mac is screaming is definitely, he was like, I want to be in the sequel. He's like, please cast me again. So now we cut to the next day.
Christmas.
It is Christmas morning. We see that Sister Margaret, she is at the police station, and she went there after discovering the bodies in the toy store. She was there all night. And we meet Captain Richards, who informs her that in addition to those 4 murders, there were 3 additional murders that night. And that Billy was able to elude his officers all night. And I was like, Billy literally was walking down a road. He like hid behind a tree and then kept walking. Your officers just suck. They're just not good at their jobs. He's not a mastermind.
Billy is in a Santa suit wielding an axe.
Maybe the issue is your cops. So Sister Margaret tells Captain Richards that everything that Billy has been doing has a sort of logic to it. That Billy is not a dumb kid. And so when you take into account all that he's been through, it all makes sense, as depraved as it is. Captain Richards believes that knowing that, they should be able to figure out Billy's next move. And Sister Margaret has the aha moment.
He gonna kill that old bitch.
Because she's a fucking asshole. She's an asshole. I don't blame Billy. I probably would have killed her first. So he's going to go to the orphanage. It's where he grew up. His brother Ricky is still there. Mother Superior is a fucking monster. They try to call the orphanage to warn everybody, but this fucking idiot kid, I hate children. She's taken the phone off the hook. So it's just busy. All they're able to get is a busy signal. So Captain Richards decides that they just need to head out there. And he orders every available officer to head there as well. And he gives the order, which is so fucking reckless. He gives them the order to shoot to kill the Santa Claus killer, which is crazy. I mean, just it's Christmas, and your entire staff is full of incompetence. Don't you think it's dangerous to just be like, shoot any guy in a fucking Santa suit? So an officer named Barnes hears this over the radio, and he's clearly either
salivating to shoot. Oh.
Trigger happy Barnes. So we know that since it's Christmas Day, the orphanage is expecting their annual visit from Santa Claus. And so we get this scene of all the kids playing in the yard, and we see a man dressed as Santa Claus walking up to them from a distance and with a purpose. So the movie is kind of making you feel like, oh shit, Billy's here, and is he going to kill these kids? As Officer Barnes is pulling up, he also sees this Santa walking up, and he jumps into action to protect these children. So as the Santa is walking up, he's reaching his hand out, trying to shake this child's hand, and Captain Barnes calls out a couple of times for him to stop, but the Santa doesn't. So he shoots him in the back 3 times in front of these children and kills this Santa Claus. Trauma. The kids are literally looking down at this dead Santa's corpse with blood running in the snow. It's insane. Additionally, you could have killed the kids. There's a kid standing right in front of this Santa. He should have been fired, but
he
whatever.
was obviously promoted to sheriff.
Clearly. So a nun rushes the kids inside, including Ricky, and Officer Barnes walks up to the dead man. Captain Richards and Sister Margaret are in the car on their way there, and they hear a call come over the radio that a man in a Santa suit has been killed at the orphanage. Sister Margaret has a moment of being upset, but kind of relieved that the whole thing is over, but only a moment, because immediately Captain Richards gets a call saying the description of the dead man does not match Billy's description. We learn that this Santa Claus is an older man in his 50s, under 6 feet. And as we know, Billy is only 18, over 6 feet, and jacked. So they killed the wrong guy. Surprise, surprise.
Oopsie. When you send a cop to do a simple job.
What the hell were you thinking?
He tells the cops shoot to kill, and they actually shoot to kill. Surprise, surprise.
And you're like, who could have known this would happen?
Surprise, surprise.
So Sister Margaret, she confirms that the man that they've killed is Father O'Brien, who was dressing up as the as the Santa Claus for the orphanage that year, and that he didn't stop when he was commanded to because he's deaf. So it's like just a comedy of errors. It's just a lot going on. This is all information she could have given them beforehand.
She's terrible.
She's horrible. Why didn't you tell them?
She's never like, hey, you know what? Now that I think about it, I should give y'all this little background information real quick so that y'all don't, kill an elderly, disabled man.
She didn't give them any information. When he went on the radio and said shoot to kill, like a guy in a Santa suit, you should have been like, well, wait, be careful because Father O'Brien is going to be in a Santa suit at the orphanage today. You know, bitch. Sorry, Sister Margaret. She is a nice woman.
Well, what's nice gonna do for
Father
this man's
O'Brien?
family? Come on,
Nothing.
nothing.
But
He's over.
we're shitting on her a lot, as we should, but we should also don't forget to shit on Officer Barnes because you didn't even confirm. You just shot a man in the back and didn't even confirm his identity.
And we know you to confirm it. You shot him in the back.
Right. Just a failure on everyone's part involved, all of you, from top to bottom. So then we get a conversation between a wheelchair-bound Mother Superior and Officer Barnes, and it's clear that she thinks he's an idiot, like we all do.
She doesn't mince words.
She doesn't. If you can say one thing about her, you can say that she's straight into the point. So he explains to her that a killer is on the way to the orphanage, and she says, "Okay, you idiot, no harm must come to these children." And he's like, "What do you think I'm doing here?" And she's like, "Bitch."
Kill them motherfuckers.
Right. She's like, so far the only thing you've done is cause harm. And he is stuck because she's right. What the fuck can you even say for yourself? But he's like, yeah, okay, you got me there. But just stay inside and do not let anybody in the building that you do not know. And she's like, duh, you dummy. Well, as everyone is hunkered down in the orphanage, we get a shot of Ricky, Billy's little brother, who is a very sweet, very polite, very well-adjusted little boy. And Mother Superior points out that he is nothing like his older brother, Billy. They are all singing Christmas carols together while Officer Barnes patrols the perimeter of the building. As he's patrolling, he goes to this shed, which leads down to this like basement level boiler room area. And he's expecting Billy to be down there, but he's not. So once he clears all of that, he kind of relaxes a little bit. He heads back upstairs to continue his search around the perimeter. But as he's walking through the doorway to go outside, Billy pops up and it's very much Jack from The Shining. He axes Officer Barnes just straight in his chest while saying punish. Officer Barnes then tumbles down the stairs and he's dead. And this is Billy's 8th on-screen kill. So we then get a shot of Billy with this blood-covered axe dripping blood into the snow. He then takes it and he cuts off the head of the snowman that the children just got done building. And I was like, damn, Billy, what did the snowman do? What did the children do?
He was trying to clean the blood off.
Clean it in the snow on the ground. These children just spent the last hour building this fucking snowman. It's like an annual tradition. So now they had to watch Santa Claus be murdered
Why
and
should they have
their snowman was destroyed. So he heads to the entrance of the orphanage and he's dressed in a Santa suit, right? So he starts waving at this little boy, this idiot child. And the little boy just gets up and just straight opens the door to let him in. And I was like, there's nobody watching the kids?
I was like, I saw that. I just thought, Ruth hates this character. I know it.
That fucking child?
Yes.
Dante, my chest hurt because it's I was already on the verge of getting hives when that little girl would let a Barbie doll use the telephone and then left it off the hook so the police couldn't call them to warn them. I was already, my throat was tight. I was super irritated already. But when this fucking kid, when he got up, he just straight got up and opened the door. Just nothing. And I was like, nobody in here is watching the kids. Like, I hate children in horror movies. They're always going to make bad decisions. They should be watched very closely. If you know there's a murderer, why didn't you like chain the door? Or just at least tell the kids, do not open the door for
He thought it was
anybody.
Santa.
Especially Santa. You know he's in a Santa suit. So Billy then approaches Mother Superior, who is then coldly repeating to him and the children that Santa Claus is not real. While he is repeating to her just the word naughty. As he's repeating this, he raises the axe over his head to kill her, while the children and his little brother Ricky look on. But just before he kills her, he is shot in the back by Captain Richards, who has arrived with Sister Margaret. And Billy falls to the floor as a cold bitch Mother Superior looks on. And Sister Margaret goes to comfort him before he dies. And he tells the children, you are safe now. Santa Claus is gone. And he dies in front of his 14-year-old brother, Ricky, who then looks up at Mother Superior and while giving her a death stare, he just says the word naughty. We get a little freeze frame of his face, the music crescendos, and then the end credits start to roll.
Trauma.
This scene set up the sequel of the movie because Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, it picks up 4 years after this movie when Ricky is now 18. And due to the trauma of watching his brother being killed in front of him, he himself obviously becomes a murderer. And so the second story follows him.
I mean, how good did she raise these children in this orphanage if two of them turned out to be murderers by the time they was 18? I
And
was
two of
sad
them
for
are
her.
dummies.
Two of them are dummies.
And I don't mean to spoil it for anybody, but I really, because you don't get any satisfaction because Mother Superior doesn't get her comeuppance at all. She doesn't feel bad. She doesn't get a tug. She doesn't reflect and think, like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have punished him so much. Maybe I should have gotten him some help. But it's okay, you guys, because she's killed in the second one. Ricky kills her. Yay!
So excited.
The kill count. So the total kills in the movie overall, it's 13 kills on the screen. Billy's kills account for a total of 8 people. Then you have the criminal Santa in the beginning who kills 3 people, including Billy's parents. And then Barnes kills Father O'Brien by shooting him in the back. And then Captain Richards, of course, kills Billy.
A lot of kills in this short movie.
It's a lot of kills in this short movie. I guess like technically Billy only kills 8 and then everybody else is just like fucking trigger happy.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. He killed like what? 7 people that one night.
He killed the entire staff.
He killed the
That
entire
poor toy
staff
store
of the toy
has nothing left.
Rest in peace, the toy store employees. But Andy had it coming. So the Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not surprised. It has a 46% critic and a 40% audience. I guess I'm a little
Audience
surprised.
is 40%?
Right. I'm a little surprised that the audience isn't higher. I would not expect the critics to like this movie, but I'm like, I just feel like this is a really typical 80s slasher. You know what I mean? Like, this movie isn't, in my opinion, worse than like Freddy 2.
Halloween 2018. Oh,
All
sorry.
right,
Oh,
I'm not trying to get
yeah.
canceled. I'm just keep it strictly to the 80s. I just feel like 80s slashers were kind of goofy. That was like a whole thing. Like they knew 80s was kind of
And this
goofy.
movie is
Like
short
it's very
and
short.
enjoyable. It doesn't.
I thought it's
It doesn't drag at
entertaining
all.
at all.
What is it? 85 minutes? That's not bad.
No, no. I think it was only 79 minutes. I think that originally it was like 85 minutes, 85 or 80, 89 minutes, but they cut some of the movie out because they thought that it was too gory. But it's like, you should have fucking kept it in. You were only in theaters for like 10 days anyway.
I know they was mad.
I know they were heated. So it actually so wait, just very quickly. The IMDb score is a 5.8 out of 10 with 18,000 reviews. So they actually got really shit on. Like, people were protesting the movie. People were very embarrassed. I was reading in like some of the fun facts. Well, one reason, so the executive producer stated that the main reason that they pulled the film was because the backlash was so great, but Columbia TriStar, which is the production company, was actually owned by Coca-Cola, and they didn't want to offend that company since Christmas was a major advertising holiday for Coca-Cola. So they might, like a smaller studio might not have pulled the movie, but they didn't really have a choice but to pull it.
It makes sense. I mean, but still,
But the
this is a very short
director,
movie.
it's a very short movie. The director and the guy that plays Billy, so the Robert Brian Wilson's that he plays like older Billy, he said he felt so ashamed by the controversy. He told his friends and family to avoid seeing the movie, but he did reverse his stance on it years later. And by years later, I mean like 30 years later, at a
So
screening
yesterday.
after he right. So after meeting with all his fans and stuff, and he made it. So now he makes appearances at horror conventions and stuff. But the director, I think his reputation was very damaged after the movie. It was just like a really big deal at the time. But fun fact, this movie was released the exact same day as A Nightmare on Elm Street, and it actually outgrossed A Nightmare on Elm Street at the box office prior to it getting pulled.
When did it come out? In October or December?
They both came out in November of 1984.
Do you think they were trying to? Do you think that they were trying to like get it out? I'm sure this one was trying to get out in before December, but everyone else she was probably trying to get out for Halloween. But it's like, F it, we'll get that when we get there.
I don't know.
Because I think about
But
it, there's quite a few movies that come out in November.
because Child's Play was also released on the exact same day as
Good, that
it's not
movie.
the exact same day, but it's the exact same like November 9th. Different year, but it's that exact same time frame. So there must be something to that. There's the woman that plays Mother Superior, so Lillian
Hmm.
Chauvin. She was in a documentary called Going to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher Film, which I haven't seen, but I did read about it. But she thought that it was a mistake to center the film's publicity campaign on the Santa Claus aspect. She believed that it would have generated a lot less controversy if the studio instead focused on Billy's psychological issues, the trauma part of it, because I think that all of the movies TV ads were a Santa Claus carrying an axe, which practically depicted him as like a mass murderer. And so that's what prompted the parents to protest the film, resulting in it being yanked from theaters.
I still feel like, yeah, because this movie is just really traumatic. It's really more about trauma. So she wanted it to be more like a, not a psychological thriller, but like more of a thinking man's movie.
I guess so, or at the very least, just the marketing for it. I mean, obviously it turned out to, but it was kind of a mistake for them to play up the Santa murdering part.
But that's kind of the cool part, I guess, to people. They probably didn't think people would get so upset. I
They
don't know
didn't think
why.
that people would get so upset. Well, because there'd already been a movie with a killer Santa Claus, but it was like, I think it might have been like a straight to TV movie. So it didn't get nearly it didn't have TV ads. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um, so that I was saying, so Charles Sellier, the director, he actually had found it difficult to find work after directing this movie, and it forced him to retire from filmmaking. And he just had to go on, doing producer stuff after that. So the backlash was very major. And then, so when the remake titled Silent Night was released in 2012, the reaction for that movie was the polar opposite of what it was in 1984. And people were actually super excited about the concept of a killer wearing a Santa Claus suit. And because of people's excitement for that movie, that that was kind of a reason why Fangoria Films decided to re-release the original film in 2013, which finally led to the film appearing on like pay cable channels. But this film didn't even run on TV or like streaming services until like 2014. That's how horrific the backlash was for it.
I can't believe it. Like, people were that offended by that. I can't. Let
Right.
me rephrase. I can believe it, but it's just more so like y'all tripping.
I agree. I mean, I just think that that level of backlash that this man had to retire, it's just a lot. But one final fact. So, in that scene where the police think that they are seeing Billy climb into that little girl's room and they barge into this home with their weapons drawn and they discover that it's the little girl's dad is the Santa and not the killer. So that Santa, the man that's the dad, is actually Don Shanks, and that man would later go on to play Michael Myers in Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So he goes on to play a killer.
Can't escape your destiny.
Right. You can't fight fate. But yeah. So those are all the fun facts I have.
What do you think of this movie?
I think it's a hit. I do.
Me too.
I think it's definitely good. It's just an 80s slasher. They're just like this. I don't think it's any better or worse than a lot of 80s slashers from that time. So that's two
I think it's a
hits.
hit as well. And it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's a
It's
fun movie.
fun.
I like this whole series. So the second and the third one. It's so it's not streaming anywhere, but
Y'all, it's not streaming, but like low key, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but y'all, it is
me neither. That's
actually
why I
a
don't know what to say.
I know, right? It's if you can find it, just take a peek at YouTube by typing Silent Night, Deadly Night full movie and just see what comes up. Not saying any names or anything, but it might be on there.
Some people say that the Silent Night, the remake, the soft like remake is the best one, but I feel like the original ones are pretty fly. So if you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out.
So yeah, do you want to tell them about the socials?
Yes, of course. Please check out our YouTube channel. Did you get that on film? Like and subscribe. Also, the Facebook. Did you get that on film? You guys are already very interactive with us on our Instagram. So that's really awesome. But that's also Did You Get That on Film? And our subreddit, Did You Get That on Film? So basically, it's all Did You Get That on Film? Just check us out.
Yeah, just check us out. We would be very pleased if you could like and subscribe. And we are always grateful. We're very active on the social media. So if you want to DM us, you can. We will respond. If you want to suggest any movies, we always appreciate that too. So just let us know. You can communicate with us the easiest on the Instagram. So
Yeah.
just message us. We would like that.
Awesome. So, yes.
So yeah. Thanks you guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Bye.